We got a big one today. In terms of, I haven't looked really on where we're at with everybody getting projects in and stuff, but I think it sounds like I'm talking to some people. Things are coming in, but please, I guess I would say I would urge you, please, to get moving quickly on getting caught up because things are still continuing to pick up. We're about 50% through the semester right now, and we're about a week behind versus what's on the syllabus. That's okay. We have to kind of adjust based off of what the course content is. But what we're moving into next is some pretty heavy duty stuff, and it's based off of all the stuff that we've been doing. So it will it will do well to get caught up as quickly as you can on this. So, um, what we're about to move into. So we're this is the big next step that is crazy important for working in this field. So it's one thing to know Wise and it's another thing to know Unity, but it's a whole other beast to know how to use Wise and Unity together. So up to this point, we've been using like when we did what the Wise stuff in the beginning, we were working with Cube. So Cube is already a pre-developed game. It just does its thing and it sends you the events and the game calls just from already baked in. But now we're starting to get a little bit of Unity chops, and we're starting to just understand a little bit about how Unity works. We're not going to become hardcore Unity developers, but we do want to be able to understand how to integrate Unity with Wise. And so that's what this next section is going to be on. We're going to probably spend 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks on this. I'm going to try to push this along pretty hard because this is the further we can get, the cooler stuff we can do at the end of the semester. So that's why I'm going to be pushing you pretty hard on this one because I want you to get through this. But I also want it to be something that sinks in and is not just a flash in the pan where it just comes and goes. Because this is actually this section right here is the one that's going to get you a job in the industry if you want to do this stuff. We'll look at Unreal, and so Unreal will be the same thing. We're going to also look at Fmod, and Fmod is some people are Fmod hardcores. I barely know Fmod, so we'll have to kind of muddle through that one coming up after this section. But this is the stuff where we start to glue things together, and I'm hoping that this is where it's going to start cementing some of those concepts. Because I guess at this point I'm feeling pretty confident with Wise just because I've been using it for a while. I've not done any commercial projects with it or anything yet, but I feel like I have a pretty good grip on the workflow. That's because I've done this quite a few times, and I'm guessing out there that there's still probably some fuzziness on the implementation of Wise and using that sort of thing. So we're gonna dive into that. But before we dive into this the technical stuff, I want to spend a couple minutes talking about just a bird's eye view of how things are connected and how this thing works. Because if you're caught up and you've done, and I saw some people have gotten through and submitted the sound for Unity stuff, like basically working with the sound inside of Unity. What we can do is we can think about, but I guess what I'm saying is I'm guessing you've gotten a little bit of fundamentals on how audio works inside of Unity. Not really like how to do hardcore coding or any of that kind of stuff with it, but just how it kind of just playing sounds out of Unity. It's possible. But what we think about, and so talking about this bird's eye view of how things work and how the sound works with our programs, we can think about that we have our our game engine over here. So our game engine is going to be what controls all the graphics, the interfacing, the I/O, the controller stuff, and also all the code like the AI, the NPC, also like NPCs, how it controls internet connection between like multiplayer online games and stuff. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, did anybody play the new Star? Has anybody gotten the new Star Wars yet? Is anybody going to? I want to really bad. It looks awesome. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan in general, just of like the whole franchise, but back in my day, back in the old days, we used to play X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. This is like the late 90s. That was like some of the first LAN gaming that we ever did. We used to have LAN parties. Nowadays, the internet's so fast, you don't have to worry about that. But we used to have LAN parties, right? Where basically you would have to lug your huge-ass 22-inch CRT to somebody else's house, and you have to sit around and you spend probably the first 3 hours getting the network up and running so that everybody can see each other's computers. And then we would start playing, and then we'd pull all-nighters or all-weekenders playing it. But a big one for us was X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and I was addicted to that. The solo games are fun, but the multiplayer stuff was so fun. And this is, again, before internet gaming, but now they have all the internet stuff, and I think that they brought that back. I am stoked, and it's in VR, and I guess the VR version of it is so immersive. You feel like you're flying a ship around in a dogfight. So I'm excited. I got to find some freaking free time to do this, though. I'm in the middle of like 4 other games, so um, it's gonna be a challenge, but it looks cool. But back to this. So the idea is that we have this game engine. So the game engine is what's controlling all the mechanics. And then we think about we have the game audio engine. So the game audio engine is what's going to run separately. It's not separate. It's related, but essentially what's controlling the sound. How the sound comes out of your computer, what's queuing up the sounds in RAM, and how all that's being controlled is going to be done with your game audio engine. Now that game audio engine can be something like Wise, Fmod, or it can run inside of Unity. But even inside of Unity, it's running as a separate, essentially a separate process. It's actually not a separate process in terms of computers go. When you think about how programs work on your computer, we call those processes. And so Unity and the game engine, it actually runs a process inside of Unity. So if you're looking at, if you hit your task manager or your whatever, you're looking at all your apps that are running, you won't see a separate game audio engine running outside of that. So in other words, if your game engine crashes, it'll crash the game audio engine along with it. So the two are related, but it's actually kind of running inside of there. But they are still kind of two separate things happening at the same time. So when we run it within Unity, it feels like it's one giant program, and it kind of is. That game audio engine is running over here, but it's all the audio is being controlled and being played. But that component of the game engine is actually kind of a separate thing. So we can use that with so what we want to do is we want to take the like Unity over here, and instead of using all the audio from within Unity as the Unity engine, and again we only had like a week's worth of audio. I just want to expose you to that. And if you decide you want to go on and become a hardcore coder in that respect, awesome. But the thing is, you can do a lot of the same stuff that you can do in Wise inside of Unity if you know how to code and you know how to script it. But the thing is, Wise does it. It kicks ass and it lets you get right to the actual creative stuff instead of having to do all this hardcore technical coding. And so that's what's cool about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to completely replace all of the audio in Unity, and we're going to use our own audio engine that runs separately. So and it has that communication back and forth using actually like it's a network communication between the two pieces of software between Wise and Unity. It's that network. You remember how we were in Wise, you can set up that connection between the two of those. So it's actually just like a network call between the two of those two pieces of software. So basically, it's a remote control. So Unity is going to set up as a remote control for controlling Wise, and that's what we want to get to. And so that's kind of what the end game is here with what we're trying to do, is trying to figure out how to make these things to connect. And also as an audio person working with visual people, we want to be able to like do this like on our own as much as possible. We don't have to ask as many favors as possible from the coding team or from the visuals team. So it's our job to try to step up and know how this stuff works. So that's what we're going to spend the next couple weeks doing this. So the way we do this, we call this integration. You can think about Wise as also being like a plug-in to Unity, but what we want to do is we're going to integrate the two of these together. So and the term for that is we call that integration. And it used to be ridiculously complicated. It was like so hard a few years ago to do this. Like even just like 3 or 4 years ago, this was like a really tall order. Like we could probably spend half the semester just trying to get the two to talk to each other. Since then, the big brains, both at Unity and at Audio Kinetic, have come up with means to make this way more automated and way easier, to the point where I was really impressed that I was actually able to get this thing up and running in a very short amount of time. So let's talk about how we're going to learn this stuff. So I'm going to share my screen. The way we're going to do this, let's start over at the top. Let's go to Audio Kinetic. So we're going to look at this kind of from two different angles. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go back to this idea of learning Wise and our Wise certification here. If we go to the bottom, it's Wise 301, Wise Unity Integration. So they've got an entire teaching path, which is huge. I can sit there, I can yap at you, and I can figure this stuff out myself and turn around and just like talk about it, which I am going to do. But the problem is when I'm the only source of information for this stuff is complicated. And when I'm the only source of information for this material, I don't think it's enough. I think you need a lot more. You need to come at this with multiple angles. So we're going to attack this the same way we did the WWISE 101 stuff, where basically I'm going to be talking and teaching it, but you're also going to be doing the tutorials in the background, because you need a lot of content and a lot of practice. Just watching me do it and even following along with my videos is not going to be enough to learn this stuff. So we're going to use this WWISE 301 certification as the kind of the foundation for this stuff. But we're also going to look at it in some different ways. There it is. Here's my chat. So here's how this is gonna go down. So we're gonna say get certified, and so I've already gone through. I just did the lesson 1 yesterday and got that one done. But what we need to do is this installation. So it goes through some of the fundamentals. They're telling you that you don't need to know anything about WWISE or anything about Unity, but it really does help to actually have the two of these things. So I'm not going to read any of this stuff right now. It's just talking about the integration stuff. But what I do care about, and they just talk about this game that we're going to be using. So instead of cube, what we're going to use is what's called the WWISE action game, WAG. So let's get to that page right here. Prerequisites. So we want to install the WWISE adventure game. So you already install. Oh, actually, we want to do this one here. Install the Unity editor. So we need to do 2018.4. Actually, 2018.4.0 F is going to be how we need to do that. So let me do that. I'm going to get that installed right now. So let's go to get that one, because I don't think I have that one installed right now. I can get rid of. I don't think I need any of these. These are. I try to keep my computer clean because these installs get pretty big. But what we want to do is 2018.4.0. Let's do download archive. So I'm just going to try and blast through this real quickly here, but we want to do 20, what was it? It was 2018.4.0. So I'm going to try and do that. 2018. Oops, 0.4.0. That one right here. 2018.4.0. I don't think I need this one. I'm just going to do WebGL, Windows, Mac, and documentation install. So while that's going on in the background, let's take a look at the other thing that we need to do here. So we need the WWISE Adventure game. So if I click on the WWISE Adventure game, open WWISE Launcher, it'll open it right here. And so this is, so if you want to get to it, it's under Samples, WWISE Adventure game right here. So this is in the WWISE Launcher. So I'm going to install. Oh, so I already have this. So this isn't where you actually get the contents. We need to get to the contents from. Where did my documentation go? I have too many windows open. Let's do this. Oh, those are two different browsers. That's why. Sorry, made this a little big. All right, so what we need to do is, wait, did it show it on that page? One of the first things you have to do is right here. So getting the 301 course license. This is what snagged me up over the weekend. So I'm gonna click on that. Let me back up. I'll put up a new window and I'll post this. I'm gonna post this link because I want you guys to do this right now. So basically, yeah, because it uses a lot of different plugins, like all the convolution reverb and the sound seed and some of the stuff that are licensed plugins, you have to get a license from Unity for this thing. So what you need to do is, like, where is that? I need to go to request that. Go to, open link, a new tab. Sorry, my, so rise through and, okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post this in the chat. And then what I want you to do is go to that and request WWISE 301 Unity integration license for that. So go to do that for a second. It takes like, so you're gonna have to log into Audio Kinetic with your profile, but I want you to go through and click on that. Let me know if you have any issues. So spend a couple seconds on that. Let me know when you're done. Because this license takes 48 hours to go through, which is super annoying because I got stuck because I couldn't move on until this license gets done. So they said it takes up to 48 hours, and I did this on Saturday, and I'm still waiting. I think I'm still waiting. Yeah, I'm still waiting.
Cool. I just requested mine.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. I like when I send that out into the ether, I can't tell if you guys like if it's working for y'all or not. So this will cool. All right, you guys don't need to tell me that you checked it. I just want to make sure that it was actually possible, that link worked and everything. So, but please make sure you get that going, because that takes a few minutes. Or well, it takes a couple days to get going through. Sweet. Okay, I'll give you another minute here if you're still. Some people are still having some password login issues and stuff. All right. So moving on. Let me know if you have any snags or issues moving forward. So what we need to do is what we have to do is kind of a combination of things. We're going to download both the Unity project and the WWISE project that goes with it. So we need to find the course assets that go along with this thing. So let's find the downloadable assets. Installing Unity. We know how to do that. Yeah, we know how to do all this Unity stuff. Download archive. I gotta find installing WWISE. We already know how to install WWISE, but then we need I'm looking for the download. Oh, yeah. So you're supposed to have WWISE convolution and WWISE Soundseed as those plugins. So you need convolution, air, and Soundseed as plugins that you need to use, and that's why you need the license, because these ones are actually licensed plugins. What I found for me, at least, so I was working on my Mac on my laptop up in the mountains over the weekend, and I could not get the old version of WWISE to install. So I've tried using this. I'm using the most modern version of WWISE with the old version of Unity, and it seems to be working so far. Okay. So, okay. I guess I do have to install the WWISE from this. So I do have to install it. And so what you want to do here is, yeah, okay, I guess I was mistaken. I thought I had to download the materials over here. So what we want to do is, when you go to the samples over here, I'm going to WWISE Adventure Game, and I want to install it for this. Oh yeah, so it's Unity 2018.4.f. So I thought I already had. Oh, that's for WWISE. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to use the most modern version of WWISE. It gets confusing. I get confused between my launchers. So I'm going to use the most modern version of WWISE with the Unity version of 2018.4.0 F1. So I'm going to hit install, and what it's going to do is I'm going to choose both the WWISE Adventure Game and the Unity source project. That Unity source project is important. So I'm going to go ahead and install that, accept it. It's going to take a minute for it to go. And so that's going to take a little bit for that to do its thing. Close out what I don't need. And let's see, let's keep moving forward. So I'm going to download so on this one, download the 301 zip files. So I'm going to download the zip file right here. And let's take a look what that is. I'm going to extract it to my desktop for right now. So it's a lot of oh crap, I didn't put that in a separate folder. All right, let me clean that up real quick. I thought it was going to put it in its own folder, but I guess not. I'm going to do 301-1 in case I do multiple versions of this thing. So this is my WWISE session. If you recall what that looks like inside of here. So we have our WWISE 301, and then we have all of our stuff. I wonder what session 6 is. Oh, that's not supposed to be in there. This is our normal WWISE kind of hierarchy going on there. Let's see how this is doing in the background. It's coming along. So the way we're going to do this, well, I'll just talk about how we're going to approach this thing. Basically, until you get the license thing, you're going to get stuck pretty quickly at a standstill. So what we're going to do is we're going to approach this from two angles. We're going to use both the 301 course, but I also want to try doing this on our own. I think there's a lot of good information that comes from this course, from this course right here, but I also think applying it in real world is really is significantly as significant as and important as following the instructions, because we call it, like, in education, it's called Bloom's taxonomy, where it's basically you have these different layers of learning, and one of them is like the lowest one is just memorization, like that, learning the alphabet kind of stuff, and then the second one is like recalling and synthesizing, and it goes through these whole different layers of like levels of difficulty. And the problem with this one is that you're following the instructions like we were with the original WWISE, with the WWISE 101 stuff, and it's great that you're following instructions and you're going through the things, but you're not really processing it, you're not really putting it to work. So what we want to do is we want to synthesize and make this our own. So what I did is, because I couldn't go through, because I still didn't have my license set up for this, I was like, I'm going to see if I can just make my own game and get it integrated and work with this the way I would work with this in a real life situation. And I was proud because I actually got through and got this to work. So that's what we're going to hammer on today. So I'm going to start moving. As soon as this gets going, I'm going to just show this real quick how this works, and then I'm going to ask you guys to do the same thing, not in class right now today, but what I want you to do is go through and try to get this thing set up. You have to jump through a bunch of hoops. Cool. We're already good there. So now what I want to do is, let's see, it doesn't show it up yet. So under samples, WWISE adventure game. So I can run WWISE, and I can open it in Unity, and I can open it in WWISE. And when I'm doing these things, I tend to use WWISE Launcher as my main launcher, because it's going to open the right stuff with the right editor every time. So let's just do this first. Let's just run the WWISE adventure game so you can see it and just see how it works. 1920 by 1080 sounds good. Oops, where'd it go? All right.
Hi. Yeah. Yeah.
So, just a basic, fairly basic. Were you able to hear the sounds on that, by the way? Could you guys hear that?
Yeah, I was able to hear the
Cool.
sounds.
All right, thanks. I never can tell with the Windows machines how it's streaming to Zoom or not. But we got that. So that's our basic game. That's the thing there. So what we want to do is we can open it in Unity and open it in open the WWISE project here. So I just want to go see where that project is actually. What's going on with my desktop here? I'm missing my stuff. All right. Well, anyway, let's just go over to my local disk, x86, Audio Kinetic, WWISE Adventure Game. So let's take a look inside here. So here we have the three things. So we have the WWISE project, which is going to be the WWISE project that we have. Like that's that same one that I downloaded right here. So that's the actual WWISE running inside of this. Then we have the WWISE Adventure Game. This is the actual rendered exported, and then here's the source. So this has our Unity project. So this is our Unity project right here. So that's the kind of all the stuff that we need for our project to run. So if you want to find it in other ways, that's how you do it. But I'm going to run it from, let's close this out. I'm going to run it from here, open it in Unity. So this is the 2018 point. So this is the older version of Unity that I'm running it with. Come on. You could try running it with a more modern version of Unity, but I'm worried that it's like enough things change that it's just too much of a headache. So it's just easier to follow the instructions, do what the way they say to do it. And like I said, I was doing this on Mac all weekend, and the Mac version worked fine too, but I couldn't get I tried using their old version of Wise to match it with that, but it didn't. I could, for whatever reason, that install of Wise was just not working for me. So, cool. I gotta log in. I don't remember my Audio Kinetic stuff. Oops. Did I not grab it right? Oh, I was doing Audio Kinetic, not Unity. It's confusing working with two different launchers. There we go. Cool. The reason you need to log in is so that your asset store works, all that stuff works. So, yeah, it looks like we're up and running here. So let's take a look at the assets right here just in the beginning. We can see that there's a Wise folder here. So what this project did is they actually already made it so that it's integrated already. So you don't actually have to do anything. You just drop in and start following the thing. So if we go into scenes, game scenes, and let's do this main scene. Pull this open. So there's our world that we were just messing around with. So you can run around and look at the basic world there. Cool. So so we have our Unity project. It's working. That's what we want to see. Let's go see if the Wise project is working. So let's open that up in 2019.2.5. And it's usually going to tell me that okay, so this is why. So my Soundseed, Whoosh, like basically these plugins right here, I'm getting a lot of errors because I don't own the license for that yet. That's what you requested the access for. So when that license is granted, I'm guessing that this is going to be this is going to go away. I'm not entirely sure how it connects or how we go through that license. I don't know. So I'm hoping that it just understands and is able to do this through my basic login stuff. So I accept. And we're into our Wise Adventure game here. So we can just kind of poking around here. We can look at basically our mixer. We have some stuff in our mixer hierarchy. And then if we look at our active mixer hierarchy, we have world and non-world. So these are going to be like character stuff. And this is going to be instruments and user interface. So so we can do things like ambient sound effects. Let's get our ambiences right here, backgrounds, emitters. So ambient regions. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. It's worth kind of like going through and looking at it. So we have enemies, NPCs, object, and player. Let's get the player stuff. So player just has an actor mixer hierarchy, or just actor mixer. So each of these are, yeah. So like they're their own work units down here. So this is something we haven't done before. Is work with separate work units. So we have this under the default, or like we have default work unit. And these are children of that. So we have children work units below that, and then we're going to have our actor mixer. So this is just basically like a container that propagates its attributes down to its children, which are all these ones right here. So we have health, magic, melee, movement, player pickup, and we can keep going down into these things. Impact, swing. So we can see that that's a sequence one. Oh, sorry, that's a switch. Those are switch containers, and if we keep going through, I'm sure we'll find random ones inside of here, and inside of the random ones, we can find three different random ones there. So this is nothing new, but it's cool. It's a pretty one built out, and we kind of scroll down and see how many different events we have going on. And there's also going to be things like game calls, like RTPCs and game states happening behind the scenes. So yeah, so that's basically how those work. And so what they want you to do in the beginning of this project, where did my browser go? Am I using this one? Yeah. That basically just getting up and running is going to take you a while. Just make sure that like honestly, what I just showed you, just getting things turned on, everything like downloaded, synced, turned on, and opened up, that took me quite a while. And so that's what I'm going to ask you guys to try to do by next class. So your task for next class is essentially just to get this thing up and running. And if you can, get through the first lesson. So then what you're supposed to do is just go in, and actually now we have the adventure game pulled up. So we can just go in and press play. Takes a minute. And I can hit E. So it's just the same thing that we saw before, but now I'm running it inside of Unity. And it works. So in this case, what we're doing is we're running it just from the source code. And actually, quit that there. We're running it from within just the source code, and also with the using all the WWISE stuff in here. So if we go back and look at our assets, we'll see that we have our WWISE folder here, and this stuff we don't really actually need to look at right yet. We'll go through all of the stuff that you'll need. So basically at this point, that gets you up, and you can actually watch this getting started. That's actually a pretty good one. Then they jump into yeah, if you want to go through some of this stuff, it's good. I basically went through this stuff. This is all like Unity stuff. You know most of this stuff already. Just is talking about how to get around through Unity, and it's worth looking at. You know, it's not, it's stuff that we've seen before, but I'm not gonna go through that. Basically, it goes through, talks about WWISE in Unity, blah blah. Oh yeah, so that's one thing that we need to do here, is on the WWISE installation path on this one right here, edit. Let's see, where was that? No, assets, WWISE. Can't remember where that one was. Where did it? Edit WWISE settings. Edit. I'm not seeing it in there. In my other one, it was right here. It was like WWISE settings. It was just a little thing. But seems to be working, so I'm not going to mess with it right now. I don't want to troubleshoot on that. What I want to do is, it's 10:05 right now. I want to spend the rest of the class. Okay, so yeah, let me stop and let's be very clear what I'm asking you to do. What I want you to do is run through, and I want you to try to get through and up to doing the first lesson inside of the WWISE Unity integration, which is the 301 course in Audio Kinetic. I'll post the link up in up in the modules. We're moving into a new module in here. No, come on. All right. Ugh, Firefox. This is I have some safety thing going on with Firefox. It doesn't work. My Firefox is not working well. So for this, what we're doing is we're moving into this section right here, Unity-WWISE integration. So I'll post a link. Well, I'll post a link later, but I'm going to post this link. I'll make this live, and this is where all the content for that I'm at for this section this block that we're moving into right now. So what I want you to do is go to the Audio Kinetic, go to 301, and basically try to get through the first lesson. Try to get up to and doing this lesson 1 and adding sound. You're going to run into some snags just because in the beginning until you get that license thing figured out. Because if we're in this right here, and I go to my sound banks. Oh, come on. What is this one? Is this? If we try to go to my sound banks, the layouts sound bank, open this all up, we can see that we have a bunch of different sound banks going on. I'm just going to say select all of them, generate all. And when you do that, you get a bunch of fatal errors because you don't have the license stuff. the plugin's not working. So I might have to go through and install some of the plugins and kind of troubleshoot this thing for a while. It takes a little while to get through it. So you can see what's working, what's not. We have a lot of problems because we don't have media not filed. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to do some troubleshooting there. But I want you to take a stab. I want you to take a stab at this on your own first, because I think that's troubleshooting this thing is part of understanding how the stuff works. So you're gonna need to spend some time doing that. So unfortunately, it just doesn't work just to say export sound banks and go. Even though that's like what they want you to have happen, you still have to do a little bit of troubleshooting. So just follow the instructions. So to be clear, is that making sense? Is all I want you to do is basically go through and try to do the WISE 301 stuff in the beginning. That's all we want. That's what I'm trying to get you to do by next class, is get up and running and into the course, because that takes a while. So I hope that's clear. If there's any questions or issues, like please talk to me about that. Okay, but rather than, because I got stuck on this, like as you are likely going to be, and I still in that little limbo. I'm in that licensing limbo where I can't actually use this. I can't actually do it because I don't have the license. It doesn't work for me. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go follow through and build my own scene and try to do exactly what they're doing, but I'm using my own assets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over, and I'm going to create a new. That's fine. I'll save it. What I want to do is I want to create a new one. I'm going to create a new Unity and WWISE integration from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to so the process for this is I'm going to start with my Unity launcher. I'm going to create a Unity project first. A new. Oops. Wait, which one am I on right now? 2020. Yep. Create new project. I'll do this. Create this thing. And I'm admittedly I've only gone through this once, but I was able to get it to work. So I'm a little I won't say I'm 1,000% confident on all this stuff. I'm confident on how the workflow, but some of the mechanics I'm still a little fuzzy on. But I was happy, actually I was able to get this thing to work pretty well. So in this case, I'm using the most modern Unity and the most modern WWISE, and it works just fine. Because I figure if you're going to be working on a project, this is probably going to be the way you're going to work. Most of the stuff between generations of Unity don't change that much. Sometimes a button will move here or there, but for the most part, it stays pretty much the same. Cool. So we have a blank scene. I'm just going to set. Actually, I'm going to build the scene out real quick. But I'm going to first save it. And I want to make a really, really basic game. So let's just do a plane. And I'm going to move your guys' window out of the way. Scale this thing 5, 5. Make it a little bit bigger. Let's go under my package manager. I want to add some, let's see, packages in project, my assets. And what I did is there's a couple things I want to add to this thing. Where is that? I have like textures. I think it's one of the first ones in there. I'm looking just for some basic ground textures. Let's go to the asset store. I can find my.
There was one that said outdoor ground textures.
That's the one I'm looking for. Thank you. I was like, I knew it was around here somewhere. So this is a free one I just downloaded, I don't know, a while back. I was just looking for some free textures. The reason I want to do this because it's really annoying when you're running around as a first-person shooter and you're working on a smooth. You can't see things going by. So I'll just import everything. You can't see things moving as you're moving around. So you need to actually have some texture to this thing so you can actually see what the hell you're doing. I probably didn't need to import all. I could have just done one section, but whatever. I accidentally grabbed all of them because I was talking. Good enough. Okay, so let me go in and just take a look at this. My scene, assets, textures, ground volume 1. Let's just grab ground 5, whatever it is. Grass. Good enough. Actually, that's okay. Yeah, it's good enough. If I want to change the scale of it, you could. So now we have just a basic grass or whatever, some sort of green texture on the ground, so that makes it easier to see when you're walking by it. Now what we want to do is we want to make this a simple basic first-person shooter. This is something I should have gone over last class, but I didn't. But one of the things that's really annoying with Unity, like compared to Unreal gives you badass third person and first person assets out of the gates. Unity, you have to kind of go and download your own. You have it, they have it buried inside of the standard assets, but the problem is you have to comb through so much crap to get to it. What I found works really well is this one right here. It's called First Person All-in-One. If you want to download this one, it's really useful. It's just called First Person All-in-One. You can just find it on the asset store, whatever. Search online. Let's put just all you do is like first person. Come on. And it's usually like one of the first. Oh, did it not take? So if I do first person, it's like this first one right here. It's like the free one. It's the first free one, and it works really well. I mean, there's things that are weird with it, but I'm going to use this first person all-in-one. Import this one. But with this first person all-in-one, it has a whole demo scene, like a whole extra scenes and all sorts of extra junk that comes with it. I don't want that. So I'm going to turn all that off. I don't care about documentation right now or the README. All I want is the first person prefab right here. So I'm going to say import that. Goes reasonably quick. Cool. So let's go back to my scene. So now I have my first person AIO all-in-one pack. I'm going to go in here, and what I need to do is I'm going to drag this in my scene. Now I have my first person AIO, and what this does is this is basically your first person controller. Let's zoom in. It looks like I'm buried in the ground a little bit there. Get that above the ground, and it includes a camera. So like your first person has the first person camera and run around. So what we need to do is we also have this main camera right here. We need to get rid of this main camera, and so let's just delete that one. And so now this is going to be our primary camera, our first person right here. And if we look at the head joint and the player camera, so this is going to be our main camera for everything. And as with everything, like if you recall, it puts an audio listener on the main camera by default right there. So if you have two cameras, I don't even know what happens, but it's confused as like which camera am I supposed to be using, which audio listener am I supposed to be using. So we want to use this one. It's got the audio listener on it. We're not going to use this because like I said, we're completely using our own audio system separate from this. But let's just see if this thing works. So I'm going to save it, and let's just press play. See if I'm working here. Yep, cool. I can hit shift. I can run them faster. I've got that little block in front of me, which is annoying. So let's get out of this, and there's some settings we can choose here. So my first person all-in-one, I can turn this up. Oh, so the first person all-in-one, it includes footsteps. So I don't want to use any of the footsteps. I'm going to turn the sound off for the footsteps. Rigid body's good, collider's good. So this is what's interesting down here. These are all the settings we can do for our first person AO. So enable camera movement, yes. Input method, so all this is good. I don't know where that little auto crosshair, turn that off because I don't want to see anything. That's that little dot I see in the middle. Enable camera shake, yeah, that's fine. Enable walk by default, yep. I'm going to speed up my little walk a little bit, speed up my run a little bit. Enable head bobbing, sure, I'll leave that. You can turn that off if you wanted to. Snap to head collider, yep, that's all good. Enable audio sound effects, turn that off. We don't want that. And then there's a couple other things. Advanced movement. There it was. Advanced movement. I want to turn off stamina. You can experiment with all this stuff. Just play with that. Play around with it yourself to see what each of these things do. Cool. Let's just see what that looks like now. Yep, that's a little bit more like realistic. You could turn off the head bobbing if you want to, if you find that annoying. But jump. There's a kick thing in there too. But it's working. So we have basically we can run around. Let's add a couple objects into our scene. So let's just add a cube. Let's just throw that over here. Let's give it a material, just to practice it. So we should create a new folder called materials. And what you could do is you could copy like the ADD textures. The only ones that I'm actually using, I could bring into materials and I could get rid of the other stuff that I'm not using. But let's create a new material in here. So if I want to create a material, say create. Where's my material? Material, and I'll just call this, maybe let's make it yellow. Let's make this thing a yellow, metal looking, let's do bright yellow. Cool. on the albedo right here. And let's turn up the metallic on this thing so it looks like super metallic, which I think is pretty badass. And so we'll attach that to that. So we have metallic yellow. Cool. Let's add another thing in here. So let's just call it, yeah, I'll just leave this cube. Let's add another thing in there. Let's just add a sphere. Throw this one somewhere else. Cool. Let's call that, let's add another material. We'll call this one blue metal. Turn this one blue. Make it super metallic. Nice. Okay. Just triple check that everything's working the way I want it to. The size and scale. This is just for demo reasons, but there's my cube. There's my sphere. Cool. All right, let's get out of there. So got myself a basic game. Really basic game. Of course, if you wanted to, you could go like crazy with all the things that we learned how to do with the other stuff, with the Pro Builder and some of that kind of stuff, which would be pretty neat if you want to start adding like your own scenes in there. This is something that I want you to get pretty good at though, because like being able to build a quick little scene is going to allow you to test and integrate, and also just get you much more familiar with how to just be getting comfortable. I would say good, but getting comfortable with Unity. Come on. So at that point, I'm going to close out Unity altogether. Close out on this one right here. Let's save it, get rid of it, and I'm going to go back over to Wise. Close that out. So I'm in my Wise launcher here. I'm going to go to my Unity section right here, and you'll see that it knows, and I'm not entirely sure how it's doing all this, but it knows that I guess I have a minor release, but that doesn't really matter. So what I want to do in this case, I can open this in Unity, but I can also integrate Wise into this project. So this is what I want to do right here. I'm going to say integrate Wise into this project. Let's see, yeah. And this takes a little while. So this is where it does, oh man, what am I missing? Version of corresponding not found. Install Wise. So I have to do something. I've got something missing from my installation here. I don't know what was missing there. I'll just let it do its thing. I think it's going to select. I think it selects it for me. So I have to update Wise. Sure, I'll do the mastering plugin. I don't want convolution. I don't want Wise motion. Let's turn off those. These are all licensed stuff, so I don't want to use that. Install. That might take a minute. Maybe I didn't have the SDK installed. I don't know what I was missing before, but hopefully this takes care of it. The cool thing is what this. So this is the how it basically used to have to do the stuff all manually, but nowadays it puts all the folders and all the stuff in the right spot. And we'll demonstrate and show how that works in a second here. It's pretty cool. All right, well, while I'm waiting for that for a second, any questions? Is it too fast? I know I'm blasting through this. I'm recording it so you can look back on this again. But what I'm doing here isn't really like that. It's complicated, but it's basically conceptually not that complicated. But the mechanics of it can be complicated. But honestly, the way you're going to learn this stuff is like by doing it, not just like watching me. I'm demoing it, but you have to go through this a few times. You have to break stuff. You have to try to get stuff like what I'm doing right now. Like you have to do a lot of updates. It's a lot of tedious stuff. Okay, let's try this now. Cool. So when this is blue down here, it means we're solid and we're good to go. So I'm going to do it for Apple, for Microsoft. Unity integration extensions are recommended. And what it's going to do here is it's going to create a Wise project for me. So we can run this two different ways. We can run the Wise project file can be out here if I want to, or if I even already created a Wise. So maybe I already created a Wise project before I actually created the Unity project. I can map to it right here. So it says Wise project path right here. So enter the Wise project path or leave empty to create a new Wise project. So I can either attach a current existing Wise project or I can create a new one. In this case, because it's a brand new project, I'm going to create a new one. So I leave it blank and I don't touch it. I do where the Unity installation is going to be. Yeah, I'm just going to leave all that default and just let it do its thing. So integrate. And what it's doing now is it's building that Wise project inside of Unity and it's doing all these scripts, these fancy scripts to go with Unity that make it it kind of changes the functionality of how Unity works. The spooky part with this one is that and when you're working on a real client project, if you end up breaking their project by doing this, it's super sucky. So, you create save breakpoints so that they can always go back to a version where you didn't break it. But the problem is this is kind of like a one-way ticket when you start integrating Wise into Unity. It does a lot of it mangles your Unity. Not almost say mangles, but it does a lot of stuff behind the scenes to your Unity project. And so I'm not entirely sure how to undo some of this stuff if it gets stuck. So that's something I want to learn how to do a little bit more of. Come on. Done. Yay. So now what we can do is we can open this in Unity, open this in Wise. But let's go ahead and just create a Wise project to go with this. So what I want to do is try doing a couple things. I want to attach a sound effect to one of those 3D objects I created. Maybe let's just make some sort of looping sound, some sort of campfire sound or something. Actually, where's my sound effects drive? I might have to plug that in. I don't have any sound effects on this computer. All right, so let's do this. Let's open this in Wise first and create just a basic sound bank and stuff. Because if you do this from Unity first and you open up Unity, it's going to say, hey, Eric, you get your mic on. It's making some sound. So we've got our blank Wise stuff here. Control S, save this thing. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over, at least I'm going to create, my sound banks are already there. I'm going to create a new sound bank. I could do this also from here. I'm just going to call this one main. Keep it really simple. So I have my main sound effect right there. Let's create in my sound. I need my stinking sound effects drive. Where is that? Sorry, I gotta find this drive. I have too many. I think it's this one. Too many computers in here. Oh, that might not work. I think that's a Mac only drive. Let's see, where did that save? I'll just use music if I need to. Cool. All right, let's do an import. So I'll do Shift-I to import some files. And sample libraries. Oh, no. Damn it, I don't have it in there. Let's just throw... Where is all that stuff? I've got a second drive. I put all this stuff on an external. Let's see. Well, I'll just do some music here. Let's just throw some Devo in there. That'd be fun. Oh, okay. I can't do Flax? Damn it. Where did I store everything? Is it on my video drive? Cool. I guess I do have it there. Yay. All right, let's find some sort of sound. Background tracks. Don't know what any of this stuff is. Let's do rainforest. Sure. Let's give it a listen. Good enough for what we're trying to do here. So if we go back over here, let's take a look at it. It's pretty long. Looks like it's definitely left heavy, but that's fine. What I want to do is let's check out the conversion settings on this thing. So if I look at my conversion, my default conversion settings, I'm going to edit this. I want to change this from PCM. I want this to go down to Vorbis. Cool. I'll say convert. Let's convert all these right now. Nice. So we have that converted. So it should be a lot smaller now. And now what we want to do is create an event with this thing. Play event. We'll call this rainforest. And it needs a sound. So let's throw a sound in there. So this is the event that gets called from Unity that says play rainforest. Actually, it should be called, let's rename that one. I should do rainforest underscore play. Cool. So that means play the rainforest sound. And let's just work with it there. So I'm gonna save that. I gotta add that to my sound bank. Main. Sweet. So now what I can do is, the cool thing is with this, when this was built, remember back in the when we were doing the WWISE 101 stuff, we had to go to our user settings and change all this stuff to be somewhere else. You don't have to change any of that. It's like the way that this thing is built, it exports the sound banks to the right spot where Unity is going to be looking for those things. So all I have to do is, in this case, just say generate all. Cool. So we should now have sound. We created a sound bank called main. In that we have a single sound. We have a single sound effect, and in that we have a single event called rainforest play. So let's go back over to Unity now and see if we can get this to play inside of Unity. So I'm going to go back to here. Open. That's my Unreal. Sorry, Unity. And when we did this, so we're going to see when this opens up this time, it's going to look a little bit different. There's going to be a few things that are kind of around. And if we look at this thing, it created now we see, this is what I'm talking about, it modifies your stuff a little bit. Also, this is interesting down here. It says, like, sorry, let me do this so I can see you guys. The Zoom window keeps getting in the way. I've got all these Zoom tabs and stuff. So automatic added AK audio listener to main camera. Go to edit WWISE settings to disable this functionality. So they kept saying like this edit and WWISE settings, but it doesn't seem like that's there anymore. They say they moved it somewhere. So they've got this WWISE thing right here, but I can't seem to get to the WWISE setting. Maybe it's just under preferences. I don't know where that edit WWISE setting is supposed to WWISE settings are supposed to be, but
Is it project settings?
and that's where I was just looking. It doesn't seem like it's in here. I don't see. Oh, there it is. WWISE editor, maybe. Oh, yeah, that is it. Thank you. So this is right here. So you can say, you can turn off some of this stuff. So this is the WWISE application path. It already set that one for me, so I don't need to change that. But if you need to change your WWISE application, you need to point to which WWISE you're using, and then the WWISE project path. And so right now it's pointing to the one inside of, well, it's inside of the integration. So it's just like before. It's where is that? It's on my D drive. So if it's on my D drive right here under Unity projects, I have the WWISE integration test. And inside of here, here's my WWISE integration test WWISE project. So this is my WWISE project that it created. That it automatically built this one for me. So it's inside of here. But it could also be external from this folder. And it may be that if you're working with another team, that they don't want to see this WWISE project inside of their Unity project folder. So you may map it somewhere else. And so that in this one, you could map it to somewhere like on your desktop or whatever your project drive is, and that would work fine. So what it did, but the important thing to note there, it says automatically added AK listener main camera, which is a good thing. So first person, if we go down all the way to the main camera right here, and we look at this, we see indeed that I add this thing called AK listener. So AK stands for audio kinetic. It just so anytime you see the word AK, there's a lot of those. So what they did is basically WWISE creates a bunch of scripts. You can do these stuff manually, but they give you a bunch of pre-built scripts. So AK game object, this one needs to be on all of them. It'll do that automatically. But if I add AK audio listener, it'll add an AK game object. You don't really need to understand what those scripts do. We just care about how they're there. And we also see this thing that we have this thing called WWISE global. So basically, this WWISE global is just a thing for like initializing the WWISE project or initializing WWISE in there. So one of the first things we want to do is we want to set up loading sound banks. So we need to load up a sound bank in here. And the other thing is that it added here is this thing called WWISE Picker under my window. So WWISE Picker, if I click on it, basically it'll pop up. Oops, where is that? Don't snap to anything when I'm floating. So it'll pop this thing up just as a floating window. I'm gonna dock my wise picker down into the bottom here. This is where I just think it makes sense. You could also put it in your inspector, but I don't know, just for me, I like to put the wise picker down here. So what we see now is that we can see that in here we have events, rainforest play. So we can actually get to our wise project from inside of Unity. But the problem is this rainforest play is part of a sound bank. So the first thing we need to do is load our sound banks into the scene. So what I'm going to do is create an empty object, and I'm going to call this one sound banks. And obviously, so the way I figured this out, by the way, actually I should call it wise sound banks. The way I figured this stuff out, I basically did this. This is me going through this stuff that's over the weekend. I basically went through and followed the Wise 301 text, but I did it with my own scene because I felt like I could actually go through and learn a little bit more, and I could learn a little bit more how the stuff works. And it felt a little more, you don't have to deal with all the extra crap. This is a super basic scene. I felt like this worked pretty well. So we can do a couple things. So I'm going to go to add component right here. And at the bottom now, you'll see this thing called Wise. And I want to do AK bank. So what I want to do here is what I want to do is I want to load the bank because there's different banks you want to load on different scenes. So in this case, I'll say load on, and this is the weird part. And basically we want to do load on awake, not load on start. So you can choose multiple. So we want to load on awake and unload on destroy. I want to choose it sound bank, and I have one sound bank I can choose right there. Okay. And it shows my main sound bank. So what's happening now is when I press play on the game, it's going to load in the sound bank. And when I have that sound bank loaded, now I have access to all the events in there. So that's one of the things you have to just add a sound banks into this system right here. So let's do this. Let's add. I want to add the sound effect to this one right here. So let's add a component, and in this case, it's going to be AK event. So if we go to the bottom, the one that you use a lot is going to be under Wise. AK event right here, and say basically that's what tells Wise this stuff. Like, so an AK event are these events right here. That's connecting to those. So if I say oops, go to that one right here, AK event, and it says no event is currently selected. So the cool thing is right here is I can see my events, default work units. I can do rainforest play, and I can drag that right in, bam, and we should be able to start playing here. The thing. So trigger on start. That's when we want this thing. So basically, this is a background event. So this one we want to whenever the game starts, it's going to start playing this one right here. So I think that's all we really need to do. So let's just see if it works. I'm going to hit Control S, and let's see if this thing plays. Yeah, cool. Now, I don't know about you, but that is a major freaking hurdle. Like, that was being able to, so it seems weird, but basically we got sound to play from Wise using Unity, and it worked. There's some stuff wrong with it, but it's working. So just getting to that point is a major milestone, is getting in there. One of the things that for me, when I was working this, it's working pretty well today, but when I was doing this before, actually we'll put this to the test in a minute, that when I'm working in Wise, it doesn't seem to update this stuff like very quick. I had to close down Unity and open it back up for this. It says refresh project right here. But you can also the cool thing is you can generate your sound banks from within Unity. You can remote control to generate your sound banks. I've not experimented with this, but I still found that it didn't actually work that well. So I had to basically restart it. Like, there was a lag between these things opening up. So let's do this. Well, actually, there's a couple things wrong, and I know I'm going to go fast here, but what we want to do is it's so loud. If we want to make this thing so it's actually more 3D position, we have to go back to ambient rainforest, and if we go back to our editor, if you remember our positioning stuff, one of the things that we need to do is work on our attenuation curve, because right now it's basically playing so loud that it's got the 3D positioning, but we need to add an attenuation. set. So we'll call this default a 10. I'm just going to call it default attenuation. And it's saying that basically if I'm within, this is the gain drop off as a function of distance. So I want this thing to get a lot. So I want the max distance to be, say, something like 20. Say that's like 20 meters. So that basically it rolls off a lot quicker. In fact, I could also throw the curve down on here. Add a bit of a curve to the thing. So that,
So is that sound coming from the object you put in Unity?
yeah, yeah.
Like emitting?
Yeah, it was an emitter. Exactly. That's what it is. But the problem is it's so loud that it just sounds like it's coming from everywhere. So this will make it so it's much more obvious. At least that's what I'm hoping. So Control S, apply this thing. So once I get that done, again I have to go to Generate Sound Banks, Generate All, and it should update that over here. I'm just going to hit Generate Sound Banks from here as well. Cool. Sound Banks generation is successful. So let's try playing this again. Sorry, I don't have my headphones in. I can't tell. Cool. So now it's quiet. So we could. It's a stereo file. So what we should do is say force it to mono. But if I click on this one right here, we could say basically, if it says we want to add a rigid body, that's fine. Interaction between AK object and environment require a rigid body component environment. So I'll say add rigid body. That's fine. And now it's working. So that's what's cool. Is it just we've got a sound there, and that is pretty awesome. Let me try one more time. I wonder if I can force it. I can't force it to mono from here. I have to do it from Wise. Like I could convert this one to mono if I wanted to. I'm not going to worry about it for now. But basically it is working. So the other thing is though, what if we want to do a thing where we basically run into an object and create a trigger instead? So this is how we create like an ambient background sound, or just like an emitter, like a campfire or some background sound, or maybe it's a monster breathing, or just, it's got we've got some general sounds. Or it could be like, well, ocean and water is a bad example, but you could have like a stream or a water fountain or something like that's creating water sounds over here doing that. So, and if you wanted to, you could add a particle emitter on here and create some sort of magical spell thing, or maybe fire or flames or sparks or electricity or something like that. But on this one, let's do something like this. We want this one to be a trigger instead. So when I hit it, I want it to actually trigger a sound. So let's go through and create a sound effect for that real quick. So I'm going to do Shift I and import another sound effect. Let's do like some sort of impact sound. Hollywood Edge. Say, I think I have just some impact effects. Arrow, explosion, building crash, bullet body. Let's open this up a little bit. Crash. These are all big. Glass hit, sure. Let's just use that. I don't know what it sounds like. Let's do this one. Glass. This one, rainforest. That'll work. Good enough. So what I wanted to do is every time I run into that blue thing, I wanted to have that glass sound. So let's do, let's add a new play event. Let's add glass into this thing. Now we got to add it to our sound bank. Save everything, generate everything. Go back to Unity. Okay, so this one updated really quickly. It shows up right away. It didn't do that before for me, which is kind of annoying. So instead of doing, on this one, what we did was AK event, right? So that's how we did actually the event thing. And I wanted to trigger on start. Oh, actually, one of the things I didn't do in here, which I screwed up on the rainforest, was I should have looped this one. I want to save that so it loops. But that's okay for now. It doesn't really matter. It's like 2 minutes long anyway. But for this one, I want this to be a trigger instead. So instead of what we're going to do here is I'm going to say add component, Wise. There's AK trigger, or let's see. Which one was I doing? I gotta look at my notes. Which one I was supposed to do on this one? This one I had to like this. I gotta move quick here. Oh, so I do add an AK event. So it's just an AK event. And then what I'm gonna do here, so I'm gonna add my event to be glass play. And what I'm gonna do here is say, instead of trigger on start, I'm gonna say trigger on AK trigger, is it enter? Yeah, AK trigger, HA trigger enter. And I'm gonna turn off the start right there. So what this is gonna do is this collider right here. If I say is trigger, what that's gonna do is this trigger, it's listening, this thing is listening for this trigger right here. So it's going to play it every time I go through this thing. So just with that, I'll say add rigid body, that's fine. Save it, and let's play it, see if it works. Yeah. So every time I run into that, it creates a sound. So, and that's because it's using this sphere collider right here. If I make that, it's hard to see, it's that green thing. If I turn off the mesh, where's my mesh? Mesh renderer right there. That green right here, that green is what we're seeing, this collider right here. So every time I cross through that, it's going to create that bang. And so we're seeing the mesh right here. So I could actually scale this up if I wanted to. Where is the radius? Oh, this is on radius. Let's just raise 0.6. So it's a little bit bigger than what we have going on here. And it's still not colliding through here. So I'm going to push this down just a little bit and you'll see something happen. So when I press play, you heard it start right when it played. That's because it goes, hey, the ground was colliding with this thing. So it goes, hey, something's colliding with this thing, so this thing should bang. So the problem with that is that's going to be a real, that's a problem. So what we need to do is on our AK event, we want to use other object, and where do I say that? So I have to say, so I want it to trigger only on when the player hits it. And this is right where I kind of got to at the edge of what I was doing. And how do I do that? Shoot, I can't remember off the top of my head. So there's a way, and this is the last thing I was working on, and I can't remember how to do that. So I'm gonna have to come back and talk about that later. But basically, I mean, in essence, though, I mean, we made a lot of progress right there. I'm gonna save that, and I was able to, in just a matter of like 20, 30 minutes, create a game with sound triggers with a WWISE integration out of that. And I think that to me, this is much more real than going through all the tutorials. Although the way I figured out how to do all this stuff was literally reading the tutorials for the 301, but I just made my own version of the game instead of using theirs, and it worked really, really well there. So yeah, so that in a nutshell is how we get started, the very, very basics to get started with this stuff. So what I encourage you to do, and what I would like for you to do for next class is, number one, try to just get all this Unity and WWISE stuff up and running. It takes a long time. It'll take you probably an hour or two to get everything to turn on and connect and talk and downloading the right versions and all that kind of stuff. It takes a long time. So get that set up first so that you can run through the WWISE 301 stuff. See if you can actually run through some of the WWISE 301. You're going to hit a roadblock because you're not going to have the licenses unless they start approving those very quickly. And so in the meantime, what I would also encourage you to do is what I did on the second one. I'll post this video right after class here. It takes a minute to get up on YouTube. But if you want to go back and see how I do some of this stuff, you can watch it, and it kind of good to get good with just general workflow fluency, because that's what's really going to make it sink in, and how you connect those concepts, and how we get Wise to talk to Unity and back and forth. And once we get going on the 301 stuff, we're going to do a lot of cool things like hacking scripts, doing environmental like ambiances, triggering sounds, and working with multiple sound banks and some pretty sophisticated stuff. But this is all real stuff, and this is how you're going to get work in this field if you want to do this stuff. So I think we're going to call it there. So does anybody have any questions before we roll out? Okay, well, I'm going to hit stop on the recording right now.